Good job. I call this meeting to order of the San Clemente Public Safety Committee for May 24th, 2022. Pledge allegiance. I'd like to have everybody stand. It's a flag.
Flags we got.
Hand over heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Attini, please do the roll call.
Okay. Chief Capo Bianco provided notice that he would not be at today's meeting. Captain Malott?
Here.
Captain Benfield?
Here.
Committee member Janis, I do not see in attendance.
Yes.
Committee member Leffler.
Aye.
Vice Chair Hightower.
Present.
And Chair Bercuda.
Here. Thank you. I've got a special presentation, but he's not here right now, so wait a minute. Mike, come on in, please.
I apologize for running late. We call that Greek time.
Come in.
How are you?
Good.
Good to see you.
Please. Yeah. Okay. I'd like to introduce, you're on the agenda right now.
Oh, that was easy.
Isn't that good? Okay. This is Mike
Leorakis.
Leorakis, and he is going to give us a nice little presentation on something that is near and dear to my heart, disaster preparedness regarding food insecurity, not necessarily the insecurity that we experience with homeless or seniors. This is if we have a generalized regional maybe disaster and food trucks can't get to the local store, what do we do? So, Mike, can you help us out?
Can I do a remote for that? For the presentation?
Moving forward,
Yeah.
I think if you click on this, it should work.
Okay.
But I don't know if the range, you might want to.
I'll be over here. That's
Yeah, do it on there.
Thank you.
Work there.
Thank you. And how are we advancing it? Just hitting.
Does clicking on it do anything?
Okay. All right.
There.
Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. All right. So just to give it some context, what we've done, just to give you an idea of who we are, we started in Orange County as Waste Not OC. It was an effort started by the public health officer to reduce food waste. And the idea being if we could collect all the excess edible food and get it to the nonprofits that feed people, we can significantly address food insecurity. Ultimately, the model became a national model, and it's expanded all over the country. And of course, in LA, they didn't want to work with us because we had OC in our name. So we felt the need to rebrand, and that's why it's Abound Food Care. But basically, it's a public-private, nonprofit collaboration to reduce food waste and food insecurity. And there are certain elements of the program that lead to disaster preparation. So for example, once we started getting all this excess food that came to us, we realized that there was a lot of product that came from food distributors, manufacturers, processors, and if you get that directly to a nonprofit agency, they really don't know what to do with it. They don't have the resources. So we've identified, thank you for that.
That's very romantic. Could you go down a little lower?
Some candles and wine, and we're good.
Okay, these two.
Sure.
Yeah, there we go.
Ooh, now. Oh.
Perfect. I can put people to sleep even in bright lights.
No, this is better. No, it's better dark. It really is.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Thank you. But the idea being, we developed these resources, a network of food repurposing kitchens to take this bulk food, create either meals or meal components, vacuum seal them, blast freeze them, and then ostensibly to extend the shelf life, and then get that food to nonprofit agencies. And then we also identified, of course, there was cold storage challenges, so we've developed cold storage containers that are solar powered. So these are shipping containers used to move food back and forth across the ocean. We're converting them to solar powered so they can be placed either in food deserts, in an urban atmosphere, or in rural areas. The idea is, if they're freezers, then we can put this frozen food and keep them there. We identified disasters in different ways. Initially, we saw this as the earthquake. What do we do in the earthquake? We also formed the OC Hunger Alliance, which is both food banks and Abound Food Care. And the logic behind it, or idea behind it, sorry, my phone keeps going off, I apologize. The idea behind it was that between the three of us, we touch on all things food insecurity related, food waste related. It got some of the noise out. Some of the nonprofit agencies that are prolific at fundraising but maybe don't always know exactly what they're doing in certain spaces. And it allowed us to really challenge each other in a small setting without an audience. So among the three of us, we can challenge each other on what we do. And one of the challenges was food banks. What do we do if both facilities are red tagged? And the response was, we don't have a plan. So they are now developing an emergency food services plan for the food banks. We met with the county and asked to meet with county emergency services. A couple of years ago, we met with Donna Boston. Then we met with her successor now, and that was an eye-opener. We asked, what do we do? What's the food plan? How, we want to work together on this. And the response was, it's up to the cities. That's basically how it works. In fact, I got that sage advice from the county, which was, well, you should have canned goods in your house to prepare for an emergency. And we go, well, that's great, except in areas where food insecurity is already an issue. If you're hungry and you need food, why are you leaving that can in the shelf in case of an earthquake? You're going to grab that right away, so it no longer becomes practical. So where we saw it was an earthquake, it really became fires, which unfortunately just hit us and just occurred. Or in many cases, we're talking about an apartment fire in Santa Ana where it wipes out an apartment complex. Where do those residents go? They don't have the resources to go stay with family. They don't have the ability to go rent a hotel for a week or so. And we identified that first 24, 48 hours is typically the void before FEMA gets in or Red Cross gets in. That's really the importance. Finally, we have people who are food insecure but have dietary restrictions. So seniors, they may have a low sodium requirement. In the case of that emergency, we're getting them non-perishable food from the food banks that is loaded with sodium, so it makes their medical condition worse. So again, some of the challenges: displaced community members, food supply disruption, which we heard exists. We're experiencing now at this time, even without a disaster, and then the lead time for national response is pretty slow. So hence the emergency food program. We had pitched this to the county. We mentioned it to them 2 years ago, and we got a response of, that's brilliant, this is great. There's no money for it, it'll never happen. And they also asked us for a report on the early onset of COVID, and we had prepared for them, they just didn't read it, what the pattern of an emergency or crisis would be. And again, we were looking earthquake, but sure enough, every pattern was true, meaning you have influx of available food to start off with, and then the food supply chain interruptions come, and then the hoarding starts. And we identified what these patterns would be. They really hold true to any kind of a disaster. So the county came back to us, Andrew Doe came back to us and said, hey, I want to go back to that emergency meal plan. I think there's validity there. So the county has provided us with $2 million to get it started. And by getting it started, it means we're bringing in 5 of the solar-powered units, putting them one in each supervisorial district. Shocking how that worked out. And then also, we want to identify the best location for these. So security, school sites we identified. Contrary to the county advice, it looks like school sites really are pretty solid because they've been doing a lot of this work. They have secure locations. They know the food insecure population for the most part already through the McKinney-Vento families. And so we're now developing those meals. They're in production now. The units are being built. 2 of them are being built in Colorado. 3 are being built in the city of Carson. And the idea is to let the marketplace provide the solution. Let's see how it goes.
Just a quick question, because
Sure.
I'm going to forget otherwise. So the ready-to-eat meals, those like MREs or something?
No. So this bulk food is made into meals. So it could be a turkey with mashed potatoes and gravy and vegetables. It could be
It's like freeze wrapped or something?
Right, and then it's vacuum sealed. You pull all the oxygen out, you blast freeze it. That product is good for at least a year. Our plan calls for that food to be kept in those containers for use, and then at the 8-month mark, you start purging that inventory. Now you start getting it to homeless providers or food insecurity meal providers. And again, that's up to the city or the partner, whether they want it to go specifically for feeding homelessness or if they want it to go to any of a number of nonprofit agencies. So again, the food that's available is coming from the food banks and excess edible food from distributors, processors, manufacturers. The recovery kitchens are producing those food into meals, vacuum sealing them, blast freezing them. They're ready to thaw and eat or heat and eat. So within 8 hours, they could be eating that meal, or if they still have access to microwave, they can microwave it, or if they only have access to hot water and a boil water order, you can drop those meals in boiling water. It's actually the way we recommend because it's the best quality that way. And then the cold storage units that are being developed that will come into Orange County, followed by the ability, now that last mile distribution of saying who are our partners on the ground in that city, who's going to access it, who's going to distribute it. So again, it's the ability to provide it. You're going to see on the top right there, that is the unit that I saw 2 weeks ago in Denver. That is a 20-footer that's refrigerated, that's used for farming in Colorado. Our unit is a 30-footer that has sub-zero freezer capacity. And then you're seeing a real-life example of some of the meals, that are prepared. Again, they fit my plate guidelines, so they're usually about 1 pound in containers, plastic containers with the vacuum packaging that allows you to microwave or heat it in boiled water.
Mike,
Yeah.
are you assuming water is going to be available during these crises? Is that in your
Drinking
plans?
water or
Potable water for cooking and whatever.
Yeah, there's an assumption,
reconstitute the food.
and again, we have it both ways. So if you have electricity and you have the ability to use a microwave, then you can heat it up with a microwave. If you have water and you can boil that water, works well. Or if you have none of those, it now becomes a thaw and eat meal, meaning you've got to wait 10 hours, 8 to 10 hours, depends on the time of year, the temperature, until that product thaws to where you can eat it.
I meant just water to mix with the food.
No, it's ready to eat. It's ready to thaw and eat. There's no water
Drop it in
necessary.
a pot in the package.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
In fact, those are literally real meals right there. So they're not, we don't have the oxygen's removed, but not the moisture, not the liquid.
Okay.
So those are just ready to thaw and eat. That middle photo right there is an example. That's Orange Coast College. Culinary students there, they're one of our food repurposing kitchens. South County, through Family Assistance Ministries, expressed an interest in developing a repurposing kitchen in South Orange County. We want as many as possible to work with so we can have an avenue. I don't know if any of you know about SB 1383, but it's the state's brilliant idea to recover and force donors to donate excess edible food. Unfortunately, it's an unfunded state mandate, so they don't walk through how we pay for this. But the idea is all these food industry operations now have to donate their food. And part of the infrastructure that we're trying to develop is food repurposing kitchens. If not, it's just an exercise. in
How
trading
extensive do the
dumpsters.
kitchens have to be to qualify to do this kind of work?
They have to have some basic commercial components to it. Cold storage capability, exhaust hoods, type 1 exhaust hoods that can handle grease. And then typically we provide the equipment that is more specific to this, meaning blast chillers or blast freezers and vacuum packaging machines. And they have to be permitted establishments. So this isn't a church that does, I have a
Right.
church space. This is typically existing.
But
food
like
production.
junior colleges that have
Absolutely,
to
they're the
build-
best ones.
Right, okay.
Yeah, they tend to have the resources.
How many meals does one container hold?
So that's a
Because
great
you're
question.
saying 20, 30 people.
Yeah, originally we looked at, the plan we submitted to the county was 15 units of 1 million meal inventory. So it depends on if we go 40 foot or 30 foot. And it also depends on how you configure inside. So in other words, if you line up all of the pallets on one side only, it gives you space to move, so you can pull the last out. It saves on the labor of having to rotate inventory as you go. It also gives you that room, that other half of the container for use for emergency services, meaning we have excess edible food out there, it's frozen, the food banks are closed because it's after 3 o'clock or it's on a weekend. You can utilize that space as an emergency freezer. or it becomes a hub for the food bank and the nonprofits, meaning you can use that. So it varies based on the size of the container. Typically, we're at 37 boxes per pallet, 35 meals per box. That's typically the pack size. And I went to public school, so I can't go beyond what a pallet size is. You'll have to extend that out for me.
Do you have a target as far as the calorie content on each one of those meals?
Yeah, when you follow my plate, there has to be nutritional components to it.
Okay.
So the calories are part of it. Also, the buildup or makeup of the meal is an important factor as well.
Okay.
That's separate from the medically tailored meals, which we can keep in there as well, meaning those that are specific to a dietary restriction, like coronary heart disease, which is low sodium, renal, which I still don't remember what renal is, to be honest with you. I think they're the other one that we account for, diabetes, obviously. And then for those on blood thinners, because they can't have leafy green vegetables. So there's 4 medically tailored meal components for those afflictions.
And you even go so far as to go vegetarian or vegan?
We have not, but we can. We can. And no,
I'm starving, but I can't have that turkey.
Yeah. Well, there's a great point, because if you're looking at my plate requirements and you're looking at protein, the most cost-effective protein comes in the form of legumes. It's not just necessarily meat proteins. It's going to be beans, and it's going to be quinoa and things of that nature. So it is a cost-effective way of getting the right nutrition.
Well, I was thinking also with cultural things too.
And that's another part of it, is wherever we're going to have these, there has to be culturally sensitive. So currently we're onboarding a Vietnamese meal provider out of Garden Grove. We already have Hispanic food. In North Orange County, where we have a higher Korean population, we're starting to incorporate some Korean themed foods as well.
My wife likes the dressing on the side also.
Yeah, exactly.
God.
Yeah. So that's typically how it works. Again, the best of both worlds. We have this food set aside for emergency service. When we get to that 8-month mark, we can start purging that inventory, and it serves a purpose. This morning, one of the reasons I was late, we were in federal court this morning with Judge Carter on a homeless issue in the city of Orange, Mary's Kitchen. Got everybody to a settlement agreement finalized today, which we were all very proud of. But the city has embraced the idea of, look, if we have to take care of our homeless population, if that keeps other cities from sending them to us or us sending them to other cities, it's more affordable. And the city, and it's where I live and where I had my restaurant, so I'm shocked that the city of Orange went this route, but they see the cost benefit now of reducing food insecurity or homelessness rather than just addressing.
You're a restaurant owner?
I was a restaurant owner. I
Oh.
still own it, but I shut it down to the public last month.
Oh,
Yeah, after 30 years.
in Orange?
In Orange,
In
yeah.
the Circle area?
No, I was near Angel Stadium in the Honda Center,
Oh.
Catella Grill. I was there for 30 years.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I guess it was good to shut it down. You did it.
it was time, yeah. Yeah. So that is the program. That's how it works. I think just the contact info, but please, questions, comments. What we need most is critical thinking. You guys are the experts. Tell us what I'm missing, what we're not taking into account. Distribution has been a big issue. That last mile, we really didn't understand the complexities of how we actually get food to people at that time. So meeting with Red Cross last week before on the phone call, the problem is you don't have volunteers in a crisis. So if you're only reliant on volunteers, you need to have a larger volunteer base to account for the ones that don't show up, because they've been impacted personally by a disaster or crisis.
And you have a goal for these components. Have you met it, or are you looking for?
Well, we're balancing. Yeah, it's easy to meet, quite honestly.
Okay.
It's a matter right now of balancing it so that we're not storing so many of these items until the units come into are implemented. The units are coming this way probably September or October.
Okay.
And again, most of the components are being built in China because of the cost, and also from a compressor standpoint, the Chinese compressors use less electricity. So the lithium-ion batteries, when we use those, it makes it gives it that capacity or ability to freeze the product.
Does the solar give you off-the-grid capability?
Yeah, so there's 2 ways of doing this. We do have completely sustainable solar as an option. I don't think it's a cost-effective option. So what we're looking at is, especially to start off with, is you connect to the grid where the grid gives a
Hybrid.
source from solar.
Yeah.
And then the failover backup can either be solar, but quite honestly, the most cost-effective way of going is propane as a failover backup.
Right.
What do the cold storage containers cost?
Right now, they're about $125,000, and again, we're locking it down as we see what the cost of product or the components coming from China are.
Gosh, don't you have like 30 of them sitting in the city yard? We'll sell them to you for 50,000.
And basically, it's the controls. What do they call it? DCS. I forgot what that stands for. But it's the control, the ability to control the thermostat remotely, security components of it, so we know when that door has been opened. And on the fully sustainable solar, there's another control, and that is the ability to identify what the weather pattern is going to be. So in January, you know you have 4 straight days of rain coming, and you're not going to have enough sun. You can start balancing the load on the battery so it doesn't drain too much, averages it out. Again, why I like connecting to the grid where the grid is solar sourced.
Right.
What size footprint do you need for each one of these?
So we've just measured those out, and I can get the exact measurements, but when we saw them 2 weeks ago, to be effective, the panels have to extend beyond the footprint of the actual unit. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, the width was 16 feet. And then you need the depth, which is the 30 foot or 40 foot for the container, and then the space in front to be able to load product in. And I can get the exact dimensions for you and the height, and then strongly recommending a fence that goes around it. And I'd love to get your opinion, but if you have too much security there, it looks like there's something of value there. The prototype is in Anaheim. We have it on the campus of Anaheim High School. It's been right off the street in a secure lot, but my grandmother could hop that fence and get to it if she wanted to. We've not, knock on wood, had any issues with it. And again, that was the Model T, prototype that we have in place there.
As I mentioned to you, as far as security, some yahoo with a shotgun gets on top of a water reservoir, or even one of your things says, it's mine now. Now, you want to keep that from happening.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, typically what we've looked at doing is having the school district make it an art project. So, the mural that would be on the side of it is about education, reading, a social issue. So it doesn't stand out and cry out.
Make them think books are stored in there.
Something, yeah. No one will ever touch that.
Not a chance.
You leave the door open.
But we do want to solicit input from experts on, security. How do we secure that?
Yeah.
So speaking of security, if you're in a crisis like this, you're going to need some kind of a logistical control, crowd control. How do you distribute it? What times of the day? How do you get word out to people that it's there? What are you guys doing in that area? I can see this as a good infrastructure, but there's the practical application of.
And that's why we looked at having that school district as a partner, because typically they have some experience in that distribution coming out of COVID. Whether it's the hours, I'm so sorry, I thought I knew how to silence my phone, but apparently I'm a little more challenged than I thought. The school districts have been doing it pretty well, so we thought we'd tap into what they do. And then also we have nonprofits in the area that could be linked to that, because they could utilize that facility as a distribution or a logistics hub as well. So,
sounds like you need somebody to work in that problem. I know you're working the critical issue here, but there is the other.
No, it's true.
issue.
It's true. And the first thing we have to do is identify what we don't know, what we're not good at, and that's the thing I need the most help with, is that actual, how do we distribute this food when that event happens? Right. And I was shocked to find out there really isn't anything in place, quite honestly, right now. So I don't think anybody's ahead of the game or has all the answers that I can see. If anybody does, I'd welcome it.
Yeah, it's interesting. And this is a great component of disaster preparedness that nobody thinks about. They think about, I gotta keep my house safe, and I gotta turn the gas off and things like this. This is a bigger problem that food insecurity for the masses.
I got to share with you, it's funny, after 35 years of the food industry, we're all products of our experiences, but I remember I was in the poultry business when Ron King riots hit, and I was standing on the dock in South Central LA when we saw the smoke coming up, and they go, get the heck out of here, And we were doing a non-profit charity event in Yorba Linda 3 days, was it Thursday night or Saturday night? So it's 3 days after the riots, and now there's panic that it's coming to Orange County and it's going to happen all over. This event was supposed to have 480 people and 70 showed up for it. So we had all this excess food. And I had played baseball on a baseball team out of South Central LA. And the guys I knew, one of them, their dad was the pastor of that first AME church. So I have barbecue chicken and all those fixings for 360 people. And I called them up, they're like, bring it down, come on down, because these people haven't eaten in 3 days. And I remember they had me meet them at a spot, and then I had to go in the back. I couldn't drive because they were afraid of it. But I mean, it looked like a war zone. And then we get there, and the congregation, all these older black ladies who were huge, running up and hugging me because they had literally not eaten in 3 days. So I don't know what the emergency plan was there, but it wasn't in effect, and they were beyond just being inconvenienced. They were, the concern was that that's going to lead to greater unrest. So again, I don't mean to encroach on what you guys do all the time, but for me, it was, kind of the basis of what we looked at here was, we define disasters differently. We've already seen over the summer last year, neighborhoods, you get blocked off from services. I was at a conference in Minneapolis last week, and there were people there from Baltimore, where the riots were a few years ago. Same thing, we couldn't get food to people. So having it already out there just looks like a deployment of resources in a certain community or area. And then factor in the rural component, it also works because of the distance from the food source, meaning the food banks or grocery stores, etc. So again, I don't have all the answers. I'm soliciting them from you, but I wanted to share what we're doing. And if you think you can help us with this in any way, we'd appreciate it.
Well, we can give you a spot to put one of your things, probably.
Okay, that would be wonderful. We've been looking at, because the South Orange County needs to have one.
You can't get any farther south.
No. And you serve a lot of folks that live from Pendleton as well. So we think there's a natural tie in there as well. Even the military will say, well, we have the MREs that we can provide families, but that's not always that nutritious product. So we identified a couple spaces in San Clemente or South Orange County. I think one is in San Clemente. But if you have, and we can send you the criteria we sent to the county. We sent it to each supervisor, a list of site location criteria. Luckily, we did not ask them to make the selection for us. We just wanted their input. We wanted experts to have a hand in this. So I can share that with you, and if you know of any
Well, could we
locations-
if you can come up with a location in San Clemente, could we agendize it to the committee? To put
yeah.
a possible recommendation to the council?
The committee can make whatever recommendation about disaster preparedness as they would like. So
I think it would be good to have
There's a number of-
a location already targeted would be.
I thought we had something like that already done.
No.
What is those things we went through?
Oh, those are the CERT trailers,
Yeah.
and those is out there. Now, what he needs also, as I can see, is a tie-in to the emergency generator, and that's distance. You don't want to spread that out too far, but he's got security and
So,
the
yeah.
power and.
Yeah, so typically we connect to the grid at the panel. We naively thought you tapped into where the solar source was, meaning the solar powered carport, and then we found out that that service provider is obligated to provide a certain electricity to the panel. So you can't pull before that, you have to pull after the panel from the
Well,
grid.
would the city yard be a possibility out there in the middle of nowhere out there where those other
Where
containers
those
are?
other trailers are, we have to run some conduit or something, but
But it's nice and secure in there. It's really
it'd be a
good.
great location for it.
Wonderful, I appreciate that. And then we also have what recommended pad, how much cement is required. Asphalt's not great because of the weight and it'll sink.
We got a cement
Yeah, you want
place
like
in
a concrete
town.
pad.
Concrete works best.
We do.
The beast
Oh,
philosophy,
natural
we
gas?
actually call it
Yeah.
Anaheim is on
We have one.
asphalt,
In town.
but we just put plywood down on the corners, and that's work. Now, health department may not be thrilled with that, so we have to, run it through them on what they want. Typically, we have to seal that space in between the cement or the asphalt and the beginning of the unit so that varmints don't get underneath. But that's pretty basic and pretty standard.
I think you really need to partner with Captain Benfield here if you're going to put one in town here, because you're going to need security down there, especially when people are starving, trying to get in there at all times of the day or night. And as a general rule, you should be partnering with law enforcement agencies, let them know what you're doing and what what they might face down the
I'd
road.
love to, yeah, I appreciate that. And in cities we've talked to, local, the local police departments offered to help out. That was one of the things we discussed this morning while we were sitting in the courthouse with Orange PD was, we can help with that. But it just depends on what, how it would work. Again, I would ask for your help with that.
Maybe Captain Malott down there at the beach, I don't know.
Anyway,
You got a lot of storage area down there
public
too.
Public.
I think no storage area.
And they're trying to.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Location.
Well, we kind of figured if there's an earthquake, we can't have anybody at the shore, so the lifeguards can help distribute food.
Well, unless you have a tsunami.
Stay down the shore.
Let me write down that recommendation.
But anyway, yeah.
All right, so please, again, any questions or articulate, there's no egos here, the idea is we want to get this right, so any input you have, devil's advocate is greatly appreciated. No tender feelings or sensitivities. If we're missing something, we're off on something, don't hesitate, please.
Mike addressed the city council 6 weeks ago,
Oh, okay.
and it's written up in the local paper regarding food waste, what to do with that stuff and all. So he's not unfamiliar to the city. The city council's not unfamiliar to you. So
Yeah.
thank you.
That's
This is a different facet of food.
It is, we look at it in the larger scope and see that, even though this started as an effort to recover food, and ultimately it's now something that complies with SB 1383, the reality is where we really get the most impact and the best value for our dollars is when we cross and we look at the potential from different sources. There's an environmental or public works component to it. There's also a food source and a nutrition component to it. When we bring all those together, we identify further funding streams for this as well. So I don't mean to bore you with it, but if we can get people who are food insecure access to nutrition, then they're going to be healthier. And then the medical care provider, healthcare provider, saves them the treatment of it. 3-4 years ago, we talked to Cal Optima. They literally laughed at me and said, we only do what we get reimbursed by the feds for. Well, sure enough, now the feds reimburse for medically tailored meals. So there's the ability to provide funding for these food repurposing kitchens to produce this food because there's a nutritional benefit. Right.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Well, are there grants too that you could apply for to get some more money other than having to rely on the county?
Yeah, we think there is. One of the reasons why the county wanted to see this is they thought there was an opportunity to go back to the state and the feds. And this is the proof of concept. Now we've got it. We can show it to you. It's something
Perfect.
tangible.
Yeah.
Prior to that, it was something that was a little bit more difficult for them to understand.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the beauty of a prototype is it's now something we can show them.
Great.
Good job.
All right, guys.
Well, thank
Thank
you
you
so
very
much.
much. I appreciate it.
What a introduction into this stuff. It's very important.
I appreciate it. My contact info is up there. If you want to email me, it's Mike at Abound Food Care. But feel free to, again, tell me what I don't know or what I need to watch out for.
But we don't know what we don't know, but we're trying to find that out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you. Very,
Thanks,
very
Mike.
Bye now.
important.
Thank you.
Well, there you go.
Now I'm hungry.
So that's another interesting little facet of disaster preparedness that we're all interested in. So. Our next one is minutes from March 22nd. I'm going to review those and I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I move that we approve the minutes of the March 22nd, 2022 Public Safety Committee meeting.
Okay, is
I
there-
wasn't there. You seconded.
I'll have to second. All in favor? Well,
I think I can vote on it. I just can't make the motion.
that one taken care of. Thank you very much. Okay, any oral or written communications that we have to worry about? Consider?
The city has not received any written communications. I don't know if members of the public
Good. Good. You do that all.
Nothing from the Rambra group. It was here last week.
Rambla,
No.
Rambla,
Rambla, whatever.
yeah.
But staff has continued to work with them.
Okay.
Okay. All right, reviews and recommendations. I see none unless somebody has something for us.
Well, I just want to ask a couple of questions, because I haven't been here in a while, and just could, and if you want to do this in your update, that's okay, but I just wanted to find out where the camera,
I will have an update on that.
and how about the catalytic converter ordinance?
I
You'll have an update on that?
as well. I
Yeah.
will also update about the neighborhood watch city staffing assistance.
Awesome, okay, well, you answer all my questions.
Well, he's prepared. That's why we pay him the big bucks, to be prepared, you know. Good, okay. So in new business, the agenda items are communication disaster preparedness project update. As we saw with Mike here, that's part of this update, and I asked Kyle Kroger, Public Works Director, regarding mass care sites, and it looks like we have one identified at the community center, but I think, is there any action on looking for additional ones like schools or
I
those?
think the high school would be a good candidate. I think Vista Hermosa Sports Park would be a good candidate, because of the facilities out there. I need to talk to our Beaches Park and Rec director, because she's kind of over the shelter sites. But we have only identified the one so
Okay.
far. But I think it does make sense to maybe have some conversations about, could we use those if needed?
Yeah, looking at Nigel, you know, you want to have something that's decentralized. This one, it'd be a bunch if you had up in Talega, have a mass care center down at the community center alone. And that's a long way to go necessarily. So,
Especially get cut off to one of them to be able to go to another one would be nice.
right. In the past, I was led to believe the Red Cross designates them. They don't. They just staff those things. So it's up to the city or the Unified School District to say, okay, we'll do that stuff. And so we have to identify the sites and get the permissions, and there's contractual permissions with the school board that have to be done too. So I'm sure that's not a huge thing, because they do it with other folks throughout the different cities.
Like a mutual aid agreement or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And but we got to get that in place before we can designate it and say, everybody go to this place. Because when the fire department and the police department say, okay, what are we going to do? And we're not prepared, that's not good. So that's something we have to be right on top of, is looking for good decentralized locations and getting the official permission from those agencies that operate those, and how to open them up. All those little logistical things that go along. Okay.
Mr. Hermosa, the fire station right near there too.
Yeah.
That's excellent, yeah.
Any communications? Anybody have anything on that?
Well, under that, do you think maybe we could agendize the possibility of using the city yard as one of these Red Cross locations?
We're looking for the food insecurity thing. Oh, it's not Red Cross.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, right, okay. But
Yeah, that would be
it's not an emergency, so I think we'd have to agendize it, right? If we were gonna send a recommendation to the
Yes.
city.
Yeah.
So,
But you could agendize a recommendation for the next meeting.
that's what I'm talking about.
Somebody will need to formulate what that recommendation is. As long as it's published before 3 days before the meeting, the committee can take action on it.
Okay, well, I mean, I think the agenda would be that the council review the feasibility of allowing whatever you call this food, the official name of this food, thing as a component to utilize our city yard as a location for one of these.
is at least, we gotta, number one, find it, is it available? You know? And then we gotta find out from who's controlling it, and that's probably from the county board of supervisors, that they don't have something else going on too, but we worry about.
So
we
He
can
says he's
offer it.
looking for locations, and I just
Right.
so it's a feasibility thing. It's not that we're moving it here. It's that
Yeah.
we would make it available
Right.
if they wanted it, kind of
And,
thing.
I think, staff's in support of whatever the committee wants to do. I think logistically, though, I don't know if this plays into the emergency operations plan that's being put together, but since we're doing that, and I would hate for the committee to limit their recommendation to the council to like one place. Maybe we can just agendize a potential recommendation to council. The two subcommittee members that are on this project can communicate with me about formulating the recommendation, but maybe it's something just a little bit bigger.
Yeah, you're right about
Just saying,
narrowing
like,
to one
just
location.
letting the council know, hey, this is something that the committee finds important, and we recommend that follow these steps.
City Yard is a candidate, but they're looking for alternate as well.
Exactly. Yeah. We'd rather have the flexibility to.
What he's doing right now is, since it's the county sponsoring it with a couple $1 million, and they're divided into 5 supervisory districts, that's just a test type thing,
Feasibility.
that won't feed the entire county.
No.
We're looking at taking care of our.
But he's looking for
business, too.
location in South San Clemente, and this is South San Clemente.
Right.
So if we get on board early and say, hey, we're open to this,
Yeah.
and come in, and we might get it before somebody else, and I think it'd be good to have it in our city.
Yeah. The other thing about this is, what if any permitting would be required for this? So I'd rather kind of keep this open. Staff will look into this, and that way the recommendation going to council is aware of what the implications of that recommendation are. It may be something that if it's supported by the general plan, generally speaking, and there's a budget for emergency operations, this could really be done at a staff level. But the recommendation to council would, help direct staff's efforts.
Well, they gotta be aware of what's going on. This is important,
Yeah.
so that'd be good.
Okay.
So, you have direction now?
Yes.
Thank you.
No problem.
Gotta take care of it.
I think you have to worry though about the logistics of this whole thing too, though. I mean, getting the location is fine, a good step. But now once you've got it and it's up and running and there's an emergency, what do we do? And the city council's gonna realize that's gonna take some staff support to figure that out.
Yeah, and I that's why I mentioned the emergency operations plan currently being developed.
That would be part of the,
That we
It
have
should
to
be.
contemplate
I
something
mean,
like
it
this.
works right in with it.
yeah.
Yeah, I just
Coordinate with that, okay.
want to make sure that staff is unified in their approach to emergency management, not doing things separately.
Good?
Yes.
Okay. Homeless and mismanagement practices for public safety personnel project update.
Well,
What do you think?
we got a couple of things going, and this plays in. Actually, maybe I'll bring this up in the legislation. But well, since it's under homeless, as I started looking at what other cities have been doing as far as ordinances and whatever regarding homeless specifically, and the city of Los Angeles, which is probably the second most liberal city in California, I would think, has just recently passed some ordinances regarding camping on the sidewalk, even just sitting on the sidewalk or taking up space there. And they've gone and done some specific things in this ordinance, like you can't be within 2 feet of a fire hydrant, within 5 feet of an operational or utilizable entrance or exit, meaning a driveway of any kind. What's the one I really like here, in a manner that interferes with any activity for which the city has issued a permit. In other words, if you have a special thing that you put on, they can't park there. or restricts accessible passage as required by the Americans with Disability Act. So I went and started reading the Americans with Disability Act, and that pretty much means you can't be anywhere on the sidewalk, or you're going to be in violation of it. And the city of Los Angeles, like I say, those, and I lived and worked there for 38 years, and those wonderful liberal people up there, if they're willing to go ahead and do this up there, seems like anywhere in Orange County would be, really receptive to something like this, in any city in Orange County. Even San Francisco has enacted laws up there now trying to clear their sidewalks and whatever. The most liberal city in California. So I'm thinking, I haven't put it together yet, but I am hoping that maybe we can make a recommendation on this as far as ordinance goes also. Again, I hear from everybody, I've talked to several other people as, well, there's nobody to enforce it. And, I don't think that has much to do with passing the ordinances. I don't know what they're doing in San Francisco. I know in the city of Los Angeles, they are enforcing these. Whether Sheriff Barnes wants to be involved, that's up to him. But the fact is, if we have the ordinances on the books, then we have the ordinances on the books, and we take it from there.
On the enforceability thing is, I think I'm speaking for the sheriff's department or local law enforcement, they respond to complaints. They just don't go around looking for people that are like that, but it's a PC for stopping and saying hello and those type of things too. But
I say in the city of Los Angeles, they're not allowing people to be there, and they're not waiting for complaints. The police department is going and saying, you can't be here, you've got to go.
If not, the sheriff's department will be doing it.
Well, I can't speak. I can't speak that. I know that Sheriff Villanueva is very involved in this and is happy to deal with it. So he seems to be just tickled pink to go in and deal with it. But the fact is, we have no control over that. Yeah. But we do have control over what we think ordinances are that are good for public safety in our city.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what we ought to be pursuing. So again, I kind of pulled a couple of things, and for the next meeting, I'll have it probably more put together, and we can maybe we agendize that so we can talk about it at least. I'll get you
If you have stuff ready to go, I can add it to the agenda.
Yeah, that's
for deliberation, and
I'll get it to you in the next week. I just want to get more stuff together.
Yeah.
So, and maybe we could talk about it.
What's the city of Santa Ana doing up there? They have a real problem.
Well, what are they doing?
You might. Well, I guess I'd say. Maybe
I will check it for more cities of what they're doing. I know Whittier has done some. That's what I'm saying. I need more time. I just looked at the LA one basically because I'm familiar with kind of how they have done nothing in the past, and all of a sudden they're doing things. So I'm thinking as we look into more cities, probably in the last 2 years there probably been more cities getting involved and having similar restrictive ordinances. So
what's the goal then? What's the goal of the ordinance then?
Get people off, where they aren't blocking sidewalks, camping on sidewalks. I mean, again, Martin versus Boise says nothing about how people are allowed to camp on sidewalks. All it says is you can sleep on public property if you don't have a place to put them. It says nothing about setting up tent cities. So it's not protected under Martin versus Boise, but we've just let it spread out to that where you just don't mess with anybody doing anything. So people are trying to figure out how to manage. It's a problem, just trying to figure out how to manage it. So that's all I really have on our part of the homeless thing anyway.
okay.
Good. Okay.
Now on the legislative review.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't have anything, do you?
A couple of minor things.
Look
Well,
at this. He's got a book in his hand.
well, I'll tell you. I haven't been a lot of things going on. Haven't been as aggressive in the last couple of months as I probably should have been. So I'm trying to get more attentive to this. But anyway, right now there's over 40 bills in the state assembly at the public safety committee level at the state. And I went through every single one, and a lot of them look really, really compelling when I read, firearms. And then you go to that, and it's all about licensing and transfer. I mean, nothing that compelling. Driving under the influence, you go, it's administrative stuff. And most all these things are just basically where it says hate crimes reporting. It's just changing language to clarify. There's nothing, nothing very, like I say, compelling. The most compelling thing I found, and this is for Captain Benfield, is there's a bill in there now, and it has bipartisan support, so it's probably going to pass. And peace officer training and duty to intercede. And I don't know if any of you read that Officer Lane, who was involved in the George Floyd case, pled guilty to accessory to manslaughter, I think, on this. And here's a guy that was 1 week on the job, actually said, should we move this guy into a better position? And his training officer said, no, I've got it, which I think we can all agree that puts usually that probationer in a pretty standard spot as you stand back and you let it play out, which didn't work out well for him. Well, now there's a bill to where police officers will be compelled to intercede if they see anything that's out that might be unlawful. So, I mean, we hope since George Floyd, we probably moved to that on our own a little bit more, but now you're going to be compelled, so you're going to be lawfully compelled to do it. So, interesting. I mean, in my long career in law enforcement, if I was seeing something like this, you just go, what is going on? So this is just the way of things, and hopefully it'll be a good thing in the long run. Local legislation, cities of Huntington Beach, Long Beach, and Los Angeles pass ordinances that make it illegal to work on and sell bike parts in public property. I think we're moving to do something like that also. I think did they direct staff to try to figure out ordinances? Are you doing something? Yeah, just taking probably the best pieces of all of them and trying to put it together.
Yes, staff will be bringing that back to council per their direction.
So anyway, this kind of tails in on kind of the homeless thing, although it's not homeless specific, but more and more cities are trying to legislate, ordinances to help manage our public safety issues. So it's very, very exciting times. So that's all probably on legislation.
Yes. Thank you.
Which brings us to Neighborhood Watch. We came to a little bit of a stumbling block, and I think it might be a communication thing, talking about with Joe has been really trying to push hard to get the website up and running with some city assistance, and there was a little bit of a 1 step forward and 2 steps back. And again, I think it was just a communication issue with the city manager and us and all that, because I think now are we pointed back in the direction? You're going to give an update on this, you said anyway.
I can provide an update now.
That'd be great.
The website is active. The Public Safety Committee members were sent a link. There's some stuff that still needs to be added to the page, but that has been started, and it's got a public-facing aspect to it. Since we're talking about Neighborhood Watch, the Neighborhood Watch staffing, city staffing for assistance in running that program. At a previous meeting, we had discussed having code compliance staff assist with that, partly because that program that division has a program for enforcement based on geographic assignment areas, which kind of plays into the general identification of districts and neighborhoods within the Neighborhood Watch program. And so right now, staffing is a little bit tight in code compliance. We don't have the resources to do this right now. However, we are in the process of hiring a new code compliance manager. That position is currently posted, and based on the timing of these types of positions, I would think we're probably 2 or 3 months away. Once that is taken care of, then we'll have a lot more support in code compliance to deal with these types of tasks. And at that time, I can bring something back to the committee to talk about like the specific duties of this position. One of the work plan projects is to identify city staff that can assist. And there was a budget that was approved by council to augment that staffing request. So based on that budget, based on who the staff is, we can figure out exactly what that person's going to do, what the expectations are, that kind of thing. And then all of that information would go onto the website so that the public has everything they need.
Yeah, because to clarify, that's been kind of what we're waiting for. Is it's hard to launch this without the website, because then you're having people either email Lisa up there or calling somebody on the phone, which isn't practical. So if we have a website, we're hoping to get a video too. We're still working with the video production unit of the sheriffs, and I think they actually told Joe that it might be able to happen in a couple of months, because we thought it'd be nice to have the website, have a sheriff up there saying, hey, welcome to your interest neighborhood, blah, 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 blah. The site will also have, because we kind of worked on it, if you interested in being a block captain, you hit it, or if you're just interested in participating, you hit it. And we have all this information now, so we can start it rolling. So it looks like we're maybe within a few months of actually being able to launch this in the summer, which would be great. So.
Well, I read the website, I looked at it, it's there,
Yeah,
but what's missing is exactly the things you're talking about.
And we
But
have-
It's got a great deal of detail on
Right.
I recognize threats and everything, but no real.
it's generic, and we
how
actually
yeah.
do have and that's why at some point we need to talk to the person that's actually doing this,
Right.
because we do have a matrix for
Yeah.
all this fun stuff on there that's already kind of been done. We just have to figure out a way to integrate it. So,
Yeah, so as far as the website goes, the city staff would ultimately approve whatever is posted, but if there's changes that the committee would like to see, we just need to know what those changes are.
well, again,
And this is really just publishing on the website.
Right.
This isn't, it can be time consuming, but it isn't necessarily going to be.
well, if you've designated a staff person that's actually doing this, maybe we could meet with him, or he or she, or
So the people that are going to assist in the running of the program are not the people that are going to be publishing on the website.
oh, okay,
The publishing on the website is just tell us what you want, we'll get it updated.
okay.
But that
Right.
person's not going to be like
Right.
the
Well, even-
web admin for that page.
Well, even the publishing is the thing that we need, so at least we know what it looks like.
Yes, and I can.
Because we don't have to launch it till we have somebody that can run it. But at least if we have the website constructed.
Yes.
What's the earliest, whatever that is, that you can recruit and train and a person in your code compliance to do this type of thing? Are we looking for?
Depends on what that position is going to do. So right now, I have a general idea of what that position is going to do. It's basically in line with a lot of what code compliance generally does. But it's hard to make any commitments not knowing the full breadth of things. The other thing is there's an OCSD component to this.
That's what I was about to say.
We started talking with Captain Manhart about this, and at the time, there really wasn't any much support or available resources for OCSD staff to be doing this. Code compliance is more than happy to help facilitate groups of people that are connected, that are, have eyes on the street, so to speak. But for OCSD's part in this, that has not been really defined.
Is
Much.
Lisa working full time here now again?
Yeah.
Because I know she was pulled away for a while on a couple of different things.
No, what's important to understand is she's a crime prevention specialist, which is not neighborhood watch.
Specific, right.
It's a component of what she does. Her role in that is really to be the law enforcement liaison, and generally we would send a deputy with her to these neighborhood watch events and functions, and they would distribute the information on how people can protect themselves and their property, right? That role is never intended to organize and create neighborhood watch programs for cities, because as you guys know, that's a massive undertaking, and she couldn't do any of her other work, and you probably need more than one person, as you guys are finding out, right? It's a big job. To that point, I do think that the website is a great idea, and you're kind of harnessing technology, which most people have moved towards anyways, as a force multiplier, and you're taking a lot of the manpower out of a position like that. Once the program is up and running, people will be able to guide themselves in and through the process of neighborhood watch, and it becomes much more automated. It's this initial launching that is all of the work, but I think once that gets up and running, and once you guys iron out the kinks, it's a solution that's gonna solve itself almost. We'll still need people involved clearly, and we'll still be involved with going out and talking to the community.
Absolutely. No, the manpower we need initially is going to be taking all that database that Lisa has for either current or previous neighborhood watch groups and getting it into the website databases. I mean, I guess that has to be done manually. I don't know how computers work. We kind of have it. Maybe it can just be transferred in. That's another reason I need to talk to somebody who's actually doing the creation of this to see what can be done and can't be done as far as integrating it together.
Well, there's nobody in the code compliance division that has experience starting, getting up and running or maintaining a neighborhood watch program.
No, not but how about the IT of the website itself? I mean,
The IT is, give us what changes you want to see on the website.
Okay.
And we'll do that. IT
Okay.
is not, in our experience, this is what we do for Neighborhood Watch. Again, nobody on staff we're looking to the committee to tell us how to establish this program, what staff support you need, what are the actions that person's going to be undertaking.
Okay. Well, since we're getting close enough now to where this could come to fruition, we will lay out a matrix that's pretty clear.
Yeah, and I think maybe a meeting with myself and Captain Benfield to kind of go over what those duties are. Keep in mind, the council's budget for the staff assistance was based on, like, I think 2 to 4 hours a week in assistance.
But once it's up and
That could be an average.
But once it's up and started,
Right.
and I think that's probably very realistic.
Yeah, the key word is once it's up and running.
Yeah.
If it's going to take a lot of staff time to get this program moving, then
I don't think it'll take a lot
just
of
need to work
staff
through
time.
those.
Yeah.
So before a recommendation is sought from the committee, let's all meet and go over
Okay,
things.
well, it's a big deal, and it's really hard to bring all the moving pieces together, but it's not rocket science. I mean, I was around when Neighborhood Watch was started in 1974 in LA. I mean, I kind of remember how it came together.
Yeah.
It's not.
But it does take staff to do that, and that's the key.
It does, but I think 2 to 4 hours a week is probably not unrealistic if we can get the pieces put together somehow.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so we'll meet. We'll figure it out. It'll get done.
Just-
I promise. Before I die. Well, I can't promise that because that could happen any minute. See, I'm about to turn 70, so I've got to stop saying things like that.
I beg your pardon.
It's just an hour-to-hour thing. I just hope I don't die right here.
Anyway, it's good to get everything together so that, because the benefits of this particular program are going to be just outstanding, for disaster preparedness, for
Yeah,
eyes and
absolutely.
ears in the community, all this stuff.
We
You
need
do.
neighborhood watch on steroids these days. If you start looking at the news and the smash and grab and all this, I mean, there's a lot of fear in the community that it's coming down this way.
So there'll be interest in
So
it.
I think there's a strong motivation, to get this thing
Oh,
going.
I think
More
you're
than
right.
back in the days of the LA when you first did it. I mean,
It was a great program, and basically where it kind of it started. The thought of it was probably West LA and Bel Air and But where it really came to fruition was in South Central Los Angeles and East LA. That's where it really took off and became a really beneficial program. So it's a good thing. We'll get it done.
Because the real idea of this is that the cops and the fire guys can't do this. They have to partner with the community. The community is the one that's driving this thing.
Yeah.
And we have to establish a community standard. And the standard is we're involved. Okay. And that's where it goes.
Well, the community is very receptive, and that's helpful also once we figure it out.
Crazy. Thank you. Human trafficking. Let's see. Now we got something on the agenda tomorrow. Okay. And that's our recommendations we did from
A couple
March.
months ago, yeah.
Yeah, let me read what they are, okay?
Sure.
Adam, I think, really was responsible for what's going on here, for putting it on the agenda tomorrow during the 7 o'clock session. It's a little confusing to understand how the organization is going on tomorrow, but basically your recommendation, I'm just going to read it here. It says, direct staff to implement the priority 1 action items recommended by the Public Safety Committee as proposed by staff and return to the council in fiscal year 2022-2023 with recommendations to implement priorities 2 and 3 as described in the administrative report dated May 25th, 2022 and on file with the city clerk. So priority 1 basically was, let's see, where was priority 1? This other document. Priority 1, strengthen massage parlor oversight by the Code Compliance Division. And then there were like parts A through G. And I'm wondering, the manager, the position that you got for code compliance, was this part of, is that person going to support this? Was this used partly as a justification for that? Because we knew this needed support funding from the city to help you out on these priority 1 issues.
Yeah, well, so code compliance, we enforce laws about massage establishments. So this is not outside of the normal purview. What's unique about this is the strategic plan to work with OCSD and actually cement that. There is a process in place where we communicate on issues related to massage establishments as necessary. There's specific training that's identified, but again, we already have a training budget, and so that's going to just be part of that. It's really the proactive inspections. That's what's unique. Code compliance is a classically complaint-based system, and so that's a change. However, that's something that we can accommodate. And then, as far as designating one person on, staff is kind of the primary point of contact for these types of issues. We already do that with other home enforcement areas of code enforcement. So none of this is terribly outside of the wheelhouse. The recommendation includes the impact to staffing, but based on the recommendation, we can fold that into our relatively normal amount of work. I don't see a major impact of doing 2 random inspections per year. And so we're fine with this recommendation. The code compliance manager position is being filled because it's been vacant since I was promoted to deputy director. So that's just a bit, like we need that regardless of whether there's any additional human trafficking massage establishment policies in place.
So tomorrow, when the city council addresses this, what do they expect from you or from the public safety committee or anything?
Well, this is on the new business section of the agenda. If they want a presentation, I will do a staff presentation on the information that's provided here. That basically laying out a little bit of the background and then just going into what the recommendations are, what staff's recommendations are based on what we can reasonably do now, which is why we want to come back in the next fiscal year to work on priorities 2 and 3. Part of that is going to be coming back to the Public Safety Committee for basically some direction on what is like the hotel and motel incentive program look like. What are those ideas? Everything that's under priority 1 is code compliance related. So there are things that we already do. It's not hard to imagine how it's going to be done. Priority 2 and 3, those are new programs that the existing staff doesn't really have any experience doing.
Well, okay, priority 2 is educate, reward hotel and motel business compliance. And then priority 3 was include human trafficking information computing forms to schools and encourage citizens to report illicit activity. These are still, I mean, the definition is they are priorities. Moving them down another year or 2 down the road, is there anything we can do to
That's between
expedite
2
those
and
things?
14 months down the road.
Basically, though, the work said these are the priorities, and we really needed all 3 of these things. We're only,
And I understand that, and if the committee would like to get up or any members of the public would like to get up and talk about how these all should have just been one priority,
yeah.
then that's fine. But staff is saying, this is what we have money for, this is how long it takes, this is what we are comfortable doing based on our existing experience and training and education. We don't have any experience rewarding or educating hotels. We don't even know who on the city staff would be responsible for that because we don't have education programs for just like businesses that we don't have any like enforcement related activities with as related to human trafficking. So that is something that needs to be figured out. If the council wants to move forward with that, we're supportive of that, and we'll provide staff's recommended or request essentially for staffing resources because we don't have anybody right now that would do this.
Well, I hear what you're saying. I guess what I'm thinking is that when we took on this responsibility, the city council wanted to hear new ideas. So in your presentation tomorrow, are you going to talk about priority 2 and priority 3? Let them know that there were some innovative things that we can do besides code compliance, and that you're not prepared to do it yet, but we want you to hear what these things were that came up from our research.
Yeah, if they want a presentation, I will go through all of these priorities and tell them this is what the recommendation from the Public Safety Committee was all of these recommendations. We're not saying we don't want to, we're not supportive of these recommendations. We're saying based on staff's current resources and abilities, priority 1 can be accomplished. And in the way that we're proposing it, these are the staffing, the impacts of existing staffing and resources. Priority 2 and 3, we're recommending we delay doing those because we would like to get some more information on exactly what those items are so that we can go back to the council and identify what the resources needed to achieve those priorities is. That's all we're saying.
Well,
They don't have to follow staff's recommendation. They can say, well, we want to get all 3 of these done, and then staff will adjust to that. But we want to manage expectations because there's a lot on the city staff's plate right now. We can only do so much, and even it gets to the point where additional staff doesn't necessarily help because additional staff need additional oversight, and you're just building this thing where it's like, okay, let's just pay. We can bite off a certain amount at a time, and I'd rather delay part of this for potentially up to 14 months if it allows us to do all of it correctly.
Well, you're laying the foundation, so when you do go before them down the road, they'll know that you can refer back to the May 5th meeting, we talked about priority 2 and 3 or something.
Yes.
So you got some,
Yeah.
some support there. It's not gonna be new and whatnot. Plus it also says, the Public Safety Committee came up with some good ideas. And Brenda Wells and the I-5 Freedom Foundation, this is what they're recommending, and they're experts in this. So anyway,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to say that kind of stuff. I mean,
Well, maybe Brenda will show up tomorrow night at the meeting and speak as a
Yeah.
citizen and, give her insight into it, hopefully. That'd be good.
Yeah, and this is, again, this is staff's recommendation since we're going to be charged with carrying this out. The council can make any determination they want with these recommendations. So members of the committee, the public, I-5 Freedom Network, they can all weigh in on the need to amend some of these things. And the council can direct maybe a quicker return to council. That's always on the table.
we really appreciate your support and your staff in getting this done. Yeah,
Absolutely.
really do. Yeah.
Any more on human trafficking we can think of? Okay.
I think we did I think our work plan component, I think we completed it.
Staff project. Yeah. Okay, moving right along.
Is that the first?
Boy, it's tough here. Okay, now we're into traffic and e-bike safety project
All right.
update. I've got a comment here. I asked Beaches, Parks and Rec personnel, I says, okay, so I've been walking on the beach trail. I haven't seen any signage. And so I says, what's that? Well, we've had a supplier problem and blah, blah, blah. But I said, so what's the target? When do we expect this stuff? Memorial Day.
Well, that's coming up.
So couldn't get any more than that. And a big question mark over my head means, well, with the supplier problems, does that mean a delay in the signage? No, our target is Memorial Day.
Oh, well, they talked about that. Samantha Wiley mentioned that was months ago, that they were hoping to have it all up by Memorial Day. Don't you remember that?
I do. But
I mean, so?
Okay.
She hasn't failed yet.
You mean the signs-
Give her a
just to
couple of
clarify,
weeks. Give her
the
another
signs
week.
will be here on Memorial Day.
No,
or
she said that they
everything
would
will
all
up?
be installed by
Right.
Memorial Day. She said that
Yeah.
months ago.
because the ordinance is already in place. Well, you gotta have the signage there.
There's just no signage.
Okay, and right now, the best they had was some barricades that had a little piece of paper on it that says.
That was like off a printer.
Yeah, so now we need all that.
Let's hope.
It's crazy, anyway. So, they're aware of what's going on, we'll just keep watching. I got a notification from Captain Benfield regarding a bike safety rodeo that's coming up.
Thursday from 3 to 5.
The second annual bike rodeo, or
That's right. Yeah. Did you get the flyer? Excellent. Yep, and that's going to be at Visitor Hermosa Park.
And there's a pre-registration. And there's, let's see, whoa, Kona shaved ice tree.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on.
there you go. That's awesome.
So it was on the city website.
It was released through our social media, and I believe the city put it out as well.
Are any of the e-bike like Swell or Murph, or are they participating at all?
I'm not sure if they confirmed. I know they're going to have different stations out there. When they were planning this, they were reaching out to various groups to see if one of them was going to, join in.
Okay. God, I wish I would have known sooner. Yeah, because the guy at Swell is a really good guy. He's an ex-NFL player, good dude.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
I'm sure careful to make it look like we're not sponsoring a particular business
Well,
or others. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's maybe we could do it on a rotating basis.
Sure, exactly. Right.
Just offer this. But I was going to say real quick also, and I can't pull up the video. I'll try to email it to you guys. I don't know if any of you saw it on social media, on San Clemente Life and Public Safety, but there was a guy posted a video. He's following these 20 kids on e-bikes on Vista Hermosa, and 2 of them are doing wheelies. I mean, they're cranking around. It looked like the Hell's Angels, and this guy's going, well, that one kid, he's definitely going to fall, and sure enough, he rolled on the street, which was awesome. And then the other one, then this lady started honking because he's out in the middle of the street, she probably should. And now they're all harassing her and circling her. It was an awesome video. But anyway, hopefully with our motor officers, it looks like they must have all been coming from school. They all had backpacks and helmets. They all were helmeted, which is good. But they were just in a huge group, and it was off of, like I say, going kind of Vista Hermosa and Veracruz, right? And you could tell it was that area. So maybe after school, maybe your motor guys could cruise around the usual location. They also go up to Target in mass, right up there, and hang around the back and all that. So maybe just some visible stuff from your motor guys, let them know. Because it is, I'm sure this wasn't a reported accident, but I mean, this kid everything was flying everywhere. And I don't know if they're reporting them, but again, on social media, in the last 2 weeks, 5 people have posted pictures of their e-bikes that have gotten stolen. And I get, is that becoming more prevalent? Or, I mean, you would think a $3,000 e-bike people would be reporting, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, it's very common. It happens all the time. It's not that it's picked up, it's been consistent.
Okay, all right, well, yeah.
Consistently getting stolen.
Okay, it's just interesting. They got to be moving them out of the area. They're not just stealing and riding around here. Must be. Do you think it's like an organized?
I think so.
They're
Yeah,
tossing
most of it.
tossing
we
in the
have
truck.
locals who have been known to steal and have been caught. We've got a couple sitting in jail right now.
Oh, okay, awesome.
But I think a lot of it is people. This is what they do. They drive around. They look for them laying on lawns and parked up against the Target, and they throw them in their car.
And now I guess
Right
they've
away.
got some golf carts taken from Short Cliffs. I said, that's just kids, joyriding. I guess they're moving them to Mexico. I mean, they're coming in like, Ryder and stealing a bunch of them.
This one was a Penske rental.
Oh, yeah, there you go. And maybe, I don't know, but Mexico would make sense. You just lose them down there. But it's interesting. Well, you've got stuff to do. That's good. How boring would it be if we didn't have anything to do here?
Yeah, there's stuff to do.
Nothing to do. Sheriff Rakuta, before we move on from this item, Captain Malott has a
Oh, we're done.
has a
Yeah, I'll
video.
just give you a little update for the e-bike since it affects us down there,
Look
right?
here,
So
yeah.
March 3rd is when that Union Code went into effect, right? So we're taking a soft approach and it's supposed to be more of a hard line approach.
Educational, yeah.
For Memorial Weekend. Just as you alluded to, the signs aren't out there, so it's kind of tough to, there's some barricades with signs missing and whatnot.
Okay.
But we have definitely seen a decrease
Okay.
in e-bikes now.
Voluntary compliance, kind of? Your
Yeah,
education?
you get some,
Yes.
some fingers and some choice words, but other people have been very respectful. The
Awesome.
complaints about the e-bikes have definitely
Sweet.
declined. So it's been a positive thing. The educational Captain Benfield organized the Cones with the Cops on March 24th, which was a collaborative effort between the deputies and us, and we had a guest come.
A little late.
A little late to the party, but he got his ice cream cone, so
All right.
that was a success. Also for us, since March 3rd, we have I don't know if you guys are familiar with the surf tape. You can call 492-1011. We updated at 8 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 3:30 or 4 o'clock. And we added a little blurb on there to notify. So there's thousands of people that make this phone call. And we also put that message up on our website. So we changed our marine safety brochure, beach brochure, that adds that on there as well. So a lot of campaign education with that, going out to the schools. We've gone out to all the local elementary schools. We give a beach safety talk, which has included the e-bike. So there's thousands of kids that we've reached out through that, and then the other part of that is that we have 840 kids that will be joining our lifeguard.
Oh, you can.
Junior lifeguards.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's been a message that's been sent out, in emails, but also our instructors will be making those announcements on a weekly basis, if not a daily basis, to let those junior lifeguards
Even
know.
if you could add like, hey, remember to wear your helmets and drive safely, because you are the demographic of the little,
Yeah.
guys that are all over the
And
city.
that's something we do. We have a bike safety lecture that we talk about for the first day. And
That's
then as
awesome.
if there's, continuing problems, and we continue to, just like we have the railroad come down and they give a railroad safety talk to all the kids on each session. But that's, and the other component that we've done is put together a e-bike PSA, and so I asked Adam if he could show that.
Okay.
So it hasn't been released. It's going to be released to the public on Thursday on the city's social outlets. So hopefully that kind of spearheads the moment.
Man, you're doing more than your part.
Well, we're just trying to do our part. to make
You're
it
doing
easier,
more. You're great.
because we're getting into the busiest part of the year where
That's right.
we don't have the resources to be,
And
making all those contacts.
is there any update? Were they going to put in some more bike racks at the base of the pier?
Yeah.
They talked about when we got. Is that going to happen? Or have you heard anything about that?
Captain Malott probably knows a little bit more about this than I do.
That was the plan, but what I heard today is that they're waiting for the new fiscal year for more money to get that part done.
Maybe we could use our flock camera money and go put, because apparently we don't need that. I mean, because fiscal year's almost over. That's like bike racks. Huh?
I'm playing the video now.
Okay, all right.
So this was done in-house by lifeguards.
That's
And
awesome.
Judy's like the spearhead of this.
Well,
All right,
thank
hold
you.
on.
That
Yeah.
is really awesome.
Standing attention, that's for sure.
Nice posture.
Yeah.
Maybe you can make it bigger. Down.
There you go. Now we're talking.
Yeah. And that's your office. Huh?
Yeah, that's it.
Nice.
Are you able to back it up?
Yeah.
There you go. All right, here we go.
Show sound.
Not yet. Where's the? Oh, over on. Oh, yeah, it's showing that it's on. Is there a speaker thing for the
I'll tell you, I've
TV?
never heard any sound come out of this thing.
Where's the TV
Doesn't
controller?
have audio.
Yeah, just bump it up on the. Is that the TV controller? Is there a volume thing on there?
Yes.
Oh yeah, one of the TV controllers used to have everything on them. Now they've got nothing on them. Yep. Yeah, there's got to be a.
Well, this says volume C, C, D, and VD. I don't know.
Well, is there something showing?
Accessibility shortcuts, 14 items. Voice
Whoa!
off.
There we go.
Well, it's got audio. I established that, but
Oh, and that's got to be taken off because that now it's X'd out.
What?
The speaker over here, whenever you did what you did.
Oh, anything.
Take it off mute.
yeah, it's muted.
No.
Now we just got to figure out how to do that.
TV speaker.
No.
Now you're on.
It's probably on now.
Close button.
Boy, that's an annoying voice.
Close that one down.
Jeez, this must be the cheap Costco TV. Put that voice on there.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know where that.
It looks so.
It looks like it's on now. Yeah, it's up to.
Give it a start. Let's
Yeah, start the video. I bet it works. Well, I'm not going to bet, but
How much you want to bet?
it might work.
No, see, there's still no sound. There should be sound at that point.
It's not getting any input. Right, Charlie? You're not getting any input, you're not getting any output.
Yeah, what did we do to get that
Here,
icon
I
to
can
show
play
up?
it on this
You
computer.
need it.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Adam, you need an IT person here.
Totally.
See if I can-
They're working on the Neighborhood Watch website.
All right.
What we could do is
I'm-
play
I'm on.
yours and sing.
I'm willing to look over your shoulder.
You're good. I
mean,
like that too.
All right.
I don't know why that's a real bummer.
You don't have it either.
No, I have the link, but it's not opening up.
You probably
Email it to somebody else.
We put it on our phone.
Yeah.
The one
Yeah.
you sent me today wouldn't work either.
Oh, really?
It didn't work in that email, yeah.
It worked at my.
Maybe that's why it's not working.
But it worked for Adam too. I mean, Adam's able to pull it up.
Well, I just wonder if you get it on YouTube, but if you don't have,
It's,
not
yeah,
working together.
yeah.
Anyways, right, you guys haven't released this video.
No.
Okay, the sound's on over there. Sounds off for that.
Oh, there you go. How about that? Now it's turned up.
Okay.
Fingers crossed.
All right.
Let's see now. Come on. Come on. There we go.
We wanted to fill you in on some adjustments the city has made to the riding of bicycles, e-bikes, and similar activities down here at the beach and on the trail. The city of San Clemente has amended the bike ordinance to restrict all e-bikes, electric skateboards, and electric scooters from being used on the beach trail, and being on the pier. Bicycles are still permitted to be ridden on the beach trail and walk in designated areas. The restricted areas are on all fringes of the beach trail, and from the base of the pier, north to the Coeur d'Alene restrooms year-round. From June 15th through Labor Day, bike riding will also be prohibited from the base of the pier south to the Trafalgar Canyon Bridge. Please remember when riding your bike to travel at a safe speed under 10 miles an hour, be cautious and wary of all pedestrians, and for more details on the amended ordinance, please click on the link in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you down at the beach.
It's outstanding, man.
Yeah, the sound wasn't good there, but
Yeah, no, but I mean,
the visual with the, where
Yeah.
you saw the guys on the
who
little units.
did the video?
Nick Judy, he's one of our marine safety officers. He's created.
On his iPhone or something? Or?
No, our foundation is San Clemente Lifeguard and Junior Lifeguard Foundation. We put a grant request in to get the equipment to do.
So like an HD camera or something?
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah, right.
that guy, but they funded the equipment because what we've been doing in the past was using, others' personal property,
Right.
and it's like, gosh,
Let me ask you this. If there's going to be a long-term delay on us doing our little video for our neighborhood watch thing,
Oh, he would love to do it. Yeah,
okay, that might be the way to go. I mean,
he's getting better and better and better. Yeah.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
that was great.
I mean, yeah, you didn't get it really.
Could we get you or somebody you designate if we wanted to talk on a video? I mean, real brief thing about kind of welcoming the neighborhood watch to San. Could you do something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the plan originally, right? Did Joe mention what the delay is?
They're just so backed up in
Oh, and
training
other projects,
videos
yeah.
and different stuff, So, and I can understand that, but I mean, this doesn't have to be a big production. It
Yeah,
could be
no.
something very similar to that. We just have
Somebody
somebody
there
to
might have been.
do it.
Right.
And maybe get a couple of diverse family, in the background there, family, people and kids and whatever, and just do probably like that, a minute and a half.
Right.
So maybe we'll lean more towards just doing the thing and getting it up instead of waiting. So, all right, well, if we get the video thing ready to go, that's just what we need, and we've got a delay on the sheriff's production thing, well, I think we'll just go through Rod and see if we can put something together quick. That'd be great.
Need something to sell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly.
Okay, so we got, okay.
Oh, and then one last thing on that e-bike down at the beach. So Captain Benfield and myself, Adam, along with the park rangers, will be doing more of a collaborative, all hands on deck a few times through the summer to try to focus on the issue.
Right.
So that will help make the curve go down. And we're probably going to start that sometime near the beginning of summer, and then go from there.
I was gonna say, matter of fact, I'll talk to Samantha. If we could get some signs up, but really get them up by Memorial Day, that would be big, because there's gonna be a big influx of people coming into town, so.
Does the city council know you guys are doing that? That you're coordinating your efforts and they help you enforce this thing? I mean, that's what they want to hear.
Well, they're gonna know tomorrow, because I'm gonna talk on it at
Well,
the city council meeting.
Samantha Wiley, the VP and our director, is aware of that, so I'm sure she's passed it on.
You'd expect.
I did ask about the
Yeah.
enforcement thing, and that she said that that would be
So that's one of the
cooperative.
biggest issues, we're getting from the public is it's not being enforced. It's-
Well, it's good to near, I know, I mean,
Well, you have
voluntary
signs.
compliance is the big part of it. You can't, it's gotta be 99% of it,
Oh, yeah,
enforcement, the
yeah.
other 1%. And it sounds like there is some of that, which,
There is. I mean,
And that's-
prior to the ordinance going into effect March 3rd, it was like
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you still. I'm not going to say you're not seeing it.
But you're always going to.
Right. But it's definitely decreased.
Oh, that's,
But I think with the summer approaching, you're going to see that go back up. Like,
that's when we need to, hit it a little bit harder. At North Beach and.
The signage is gonna be
key.
because without it, they're gonna have a legitimate defense, and their
And they,
enforcement will do nothing, you know?
absolutely.
So we got to find out where are the signs, you know?
I just had a meeting with her on something else
Okay.
yesterday. I wish I would have known, but I'll call her.
Hey, I like it.
That would be great, yeah.
We can get some, would love to see that signage up there, but you were assuming that people can read. And when I go across that Mariposa Bridge, and that's big white things that says walk bike,
Yeah, well,
obviously they can't read.
but that was even before e-bikes.
I know.
And that was even less compulsion to walk.
And
because you
there's
just hit that
zooming
throttle.
right by it anyway. Okay. All right, let's see.
It's like those speed control things that they put out on the city streets. They put one in my street, and the kids
You mean
get
the
out in
bump?
their cars. No, the radar things. They tell you.
Oh, that tells you how fast you're going, yeah.
Yeah, the kids in cars would try and make it see if they could go 60
80,
miles
yeah.
instead of slowing down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those little rascals.
let's move on. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Unfinished business. Anything new for the,
What goes under this category? I really honestly don't
Something
know.
that was originally on new business that was not finished previously.
is that clear?
And it's more project specific.
recycle it.
The new business items that we have are the work plan projects. They're maintained as new business because there is new stuff that could come up. If there's a project on there, like the last meeting had an unfinished business item of the human trafficking recommendations. Because that was a specific project that was identified.
Just what is the catalytic converter thing we were discussing last time come? I mean, is this new business?
No, that's gonna be an update by Adam, right?
I will provide an update.
Yeah.
I'll give you an update on that during the reports.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on to the police services.
Yeah, we've kind of already covered it. I was going to talk about the bike rodeo, the e-bike event at the pier, and we just went over something unusual for us was the kind of mass theft of golf carts, which is something we hadn't seen. I think we had 4 stolen that night, and one was later recovered on a trailer that was also stolen. I'm not sure why they dropped that and left it behind, but they did. And so this is a new trend that I think you're seeing pop up elsewhere, but we hadn't seen it here, and I haven't heard of anyone in our division that has had this happen. So maybe something new to keep an eye out for is the rental trucks at night rolling around.
License plate readers would be good too on that.
Only. Yeah, I mean, that might help a little bit, tracking down whoever rented it, if they rented it and didn't seal it.
Well, oh yeah, well, that's true.
Or they put it in a U-Haul truck and wheel it in there, pull the thing down and take off, but at least you got the size of a container and you can get a license plate on
So
it.
it's just a flatbed,
No, it was a Penske rental truck, like a moving truck.
so that you wouldn't know they're in there.
Right, yeah, you wouldn't see it. Which might be why they left the trailer and the one that was on the trailer. Maybe it's just too easy.
Do you have any input on where we stand on the license plate readers?
I have an update on
Adam
that.
should tell us.
Good.
I gave you what I had.
No, no, yeah, I love it.
Haven't heard anything since.
How about body?
They're waiting for them.
Now the next one is body cams. Is that Adam or is that
That's
you?
us.
It's
Okay.
never going to be me.
If it is going to be you?
It's
No.
never.
Never be. Okay.
Body worn cameras?
Well, yeah, because in the budget they're talking about, it's publicized in the San Clemente Times, the weekly thing. I just got the electronic version of it, and it indicates part of the budget stuff is for increase for the sheriff's departments for the body worn cameras. Okay,
Right.
so where do we stand on?
They're out. We've been outfitted with body worn cameras since I want to say October. We went live with them, and every deputy has one.
Mhm.
The investigators have them, and they're being used. Sergeants have them. They still haven't transitioned our old patrol video system to the new. It's essentially the same thing, but in the car now instead of body worn, it's the in-car video system, which is the same system as the ones that they're wearing. So that will be coming, but they're still testing that out and working out bugs elsewhere. I don't know where we fall in the rotation for that, but I imagine those will be happening this year. And then what you're seeing in the budget is not only increased costs from implementing a body worn program, but then the maintenance and upkeep, the storage of all the data and all that is like a recurring cost, which is probably, I didn't see the article, but that's probably what they're referring to as X amount of dollars went up because of the body worn camera program.
Well, they didn't put a dollar amount on that. They had a couple of things together, but the question I've got, just a side one, is the librarian for all that stuff. How many people does it take to categorize and put it in a library and all that? Because we're talking about county-wide now.
Yep. The end user does, so the software handles almost all of it, storing it. The end user, if I were to make a video, I would need to catalog that appropriately at the end of my shift, whether it was, an enforcement action or a use of force or whatever type of event it would fall under, and then it would store it under those categories. And then it's retained. That's part of the fees that they're referring to is the data storage on all. It's a lot of video, and it's 24 hours a day, every day. So it takes up a significant amount of space.
Is it in the cloud, or do you have
We have a server here, but I think the bulk of it is in the cloud. Yeah,
somewhere?
What's the retention on?
Depends on what type of event it is.
Yeah.
It's scaled based on we're required by law to keep certain events forever.
5 years.
Yeah, so uses of force obviously are held on to for an indefinite amount of time. If it's pending litigation, it'll be held, but general videos, I want to say it might be 5 years or something like that, but yeah, it's a lot of data.
So it uploads the 24 hours or whatever shit.
It uploads
the whole entire
automatically
thing.
as soon as they come back to the station.
Wow.
Yeah, it uploads whatever
That
video's
seems
on
great.
there.
Any movement as far as going to electric vehicles at all?
Not that I've heard.
Yeah, LA City is starting to.
Did you see that electric fire engine they've got
Yeah.
now? Big giant fire engine that's electric.
But it's got an engine backup.
Oh, well, that's good. You don't want to get stuck somewhere halfway going
I
somewhere.
can see the flames.
Well,
Yeah.
that's one of the things I wanted to bring up. Our fire chief is not here, and what they're doing in that area, because that really, a sustainable fire engine is a good thing, battery powered, and they're good. They're good technology. I suppose police cars too, but it would be good for the city to have what you call a sustainable fire engine, I think. And they're small enough they can get into places where the big guys can't go too. So that's a plus. But anyway, that's off. I'm sorry.
We'll figure that one out.
I do have a question for
Okay.
Captain Bethfield. You mentioned earlier you're familiar with the city in Texas where those mass shooter killed quite a few young children, 2nd through 4th graders and everything. The kind of feedback I get from my neighbors with the shock is, do we have enough people here, San Clemente school resource officers, to handle a situation like that?
The short answer is no. The city of San Clemente, like a lot of cities, has a single school resource officer. In the event of a significant incident, every available unit would respond to something like that. But as far as being on site, San Clemente has 10 schools that are covered by one SRO, as we refer to them, right? In a perfect world, we'd have another. In fact, if we were in a different position, obviously, police services accounts for a significant portion of any city's budget, right? This financial year that's coming up, we're not asking for much, no positions or anything like that. But in a perfect world, if we could add positions, that would be the first one that I would add as an SRO to take the burden off of the one that we have, or to help ease that burden, divvy it up a little bit. Some cities have multiple. I think Michigan has 4, but they have more schools, bigger area. So it's a concern. It's something that we would, of course, welcome, right? And then possibly, if we were being crazy and money were no object, which it never is, a second behavioral health deputy, so we can cover 7 days a week.
And nobody puts SROs in elementary schools.
I'm sorry. Hold on.
We
I just
split
heard-
our time, but the
Yeah,
majority of their problems are the middle school and
In the high school, and that's where you put and then they can respond, but nobody puts a full-time SRO in an elementary school.
Right.
know. And so that wouldn't have done anything on this.
Well, that would have prevented perhaps what happened. If
But
a lot of people are
we
thinking
would,
this.
here in this city, since we have 10, we only have one high school, we would divide them up, right? And so somebody would have
Jurisdiction.
more elementary schools and somebody would have to pay high school and maybe a couple of elementary
Yeah.
schools. So they would have more access to it. And our SRO right now, he bounces around. That's what he does his whole shift. He bounces around from school to school.
His office is at the high school though, probably.
Yes. So, yeah, we know it's unrealistic. You'll never have an SRO at every school, right? Financially, it's impossible, but I think if we could at least split it 5 and 5, it's much more manageable.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's
SRO went up to the training officer.
Yep, she's at the training center now as a tactical officer, helping to train new recruits as they go through the academy.
Charlie?
Well, I guess what I'm suggesting is it sounds like our chief of police would like to have some additional SROs, as you call them, and behavioral, what was it?
Behavioral health
The officer.
liaison.
Should we take that on as a public safety committee role to try and look into that and motivate the city to look into that? I mean, this is a real issue, all these mass shootings that are going on around here.
Well,
In the
the
United
active
States.
shooter drills and all that other stuff that goes along with it too.
Yeah. Are we
you know,
really doing our job here in San Clemente, I guess, is the
Well,
statement I'm making.
our job is to recommend to the city council things that are important. So I would entertain a motion from you, if you'd like, to start the ball rolling.
I've got a quick question. Does the county go in and provide the city with a proposal on what they think they need?
For school safety?
No, for the budget for police services.
Oh, minimum staffing type thing?
Yeah. What,
No, I mean,
how does that process work?
as far as if we were to try to add another
Yeah.
position, it would be part of the contract negotiation portion, which is kind of already passed for this year.
Right.
But the contract could be amended at any time throughout the year if the city so desired, right, to change something. Or if we requested something and they agreed, they'd do an amendment to the contract, so that could occur at any time. But generally it would be like when they come to me, hey, what are you interested in for the next fiscal year? What do you need? This is where we would have these conversations about, hey, we could really use this.
Okay. Well, I'm not adverse to chatting about a want list. That's fine.
Well, we're in a great position to put in the want, and if we ignore it and something happens, they'll say, well, why didn't you put a request in for it? So you're better off putting it in.
I'd like to try to stay focused though, because I mean, I could think of things that we could need 20 more officers, deputies, I mean, for specific things. And so I'd like to focus it, if you want, SROs, if that's a thing, I certainly would be willing to look at that. As far as saying, gee, what would, in a perfect world, what could we have? And I don't think that would be effective. If we could be specific, something that's attainable,
Right.
then.
And we can put a dollar amount to it, and it's a yes or no type thing.
But if I would support a conversation on say an additional, in light of the recent things that have happened, I think would be certainly a reasonable thing to look at. Absolutely.
Adam, you have a comment?
I just want to remind the committee that the council has only provided direction to work on specific projects, either in the work plan project or specifically directed by them. If this is related to school shootings, maybe
That's
disaster
under the-
preparedness.
Well, then we have something about
I'm-
emergencies. Also, something that was an emergency that we thought was.
That would provide you the opportunity to have staff put together essentially like an update or a report from the subcommittee on an item of pressing need for their consideration to provide you direction.
Okay.
I don't know of any direction from the council to investigate OCSD's staffing resources
Okay.
and potential needs or modifications to their staffing.
Okay, so if it came from a council member, if a council member just came out of the blue and said, you know what, the shooting here really has me intrigued, I think I'd like
And
to
then
send the
direct
public safety
Public
meeting.
Safety Committee to look into that
Yes.
matter and whether additional resources for OCSD are necessary.
Or how to deal with it anyway. I mean, we don't want to make it too specific. It may be.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
see what
wanna
you're
make the committee cognizant of the lack of direction.
It'll all
Start
come
looking at
together.
the
Let's just
existing
let it slide for
positions
now.
that OCSD has.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily
Understand.
in the purview, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
Take
if
it,
this
take
is
a
a
deep,
if
take,
this is an item of immediate,
well, it's not really. So just take a deep breath, and I think it'll all come together. We'll see. I think
You know, we can tell them Hightower is concerned about it. You know, what are they going to do about it? You know, we're willing here to help.
I can, in passing, I can let individual council members know of that.
Yeah.
But as far as providing a report, you would have to make a motion.
let's just
for that.
let it go. It'll all be fine. It'll all work out the way it's
It'll
supposed
work
to.
out.
Yeah, it'll all be good.
I'm sure the council will make the right decision.
I'm sure with the thing that just happened today, that's probably already on somebody's mind, and I wouldn't be surprised if just all the process started happening.
Okay.
And see, it's already started here.
Yeah, exactly. It'll all come together.
So if in fact
If
it
we're
doesn't, we've got consensus here, right?
Well, like I say, just I got a feeling.
Got a feeling.
I got a feeling. It's all gonna work out.
Okay.
Well, we probably can discuss this next month then at the next meeting and see where things are going, I suppose.
We might even have a direction by next meeting. You never know. You just never know.
Okay. Put that in there.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Where-
Now we're down to fire services. I had a message from Chief Capobianco. He's out of the state and in a conference, and he apologizes for not being here. So
You would have had a lot to talk about.
we'll know more about what goes on there later on.
Yeah, I was going to ask him, about the two in, two out, the fourth firefighter, what the progress is on that.
Well, I think
We had one city council person who didn't vote for that. It did pass, so I was a little wondering why, what the objection was, and did that.
the objection was that it's already there, and that council person just thought there wasn't a need for it, and if the county had a different direction, that sometimes they would give it to us, and she just thought the council person just thought it was unnecessary.
I thought that the council person was holding it back. And it
Said always want flexibility also.
Yeah, flexibility.
Yeah. But
But
It
they're
got
gonna
voted.
get it now, it sounds like.
it got voted in, so.
Got it. All right. Mr. Marine Safety, Rod, how are you?
Doing well. So from the last time I was here, I think it was February, I missed the March meeting. We had our 100-hour lifeguard training academy. We had some folks go through there. We promoted 6 of the 7. So they finished up at the end of April, and they've been out in towers on weekends. So you'll see 6 new faces out there. Big news is our junior lifeguard program registration opened up on May 11th. We expanded the program probably 7 years ago, added another session, which is actually 2. So we had capacity of 840. So on May 11th, within a minute, we filled up. Never filled up. And within 10 to 15 minutes, we had 649 on the wait list.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah.
Are the other cities starting their programs back up to full force? Is that?
Yeah, pretty much all the agencies up and down the coast ran their program last year. Newport ran theirs during COVID in 2020.
Yeah, that's weird.
Most agencies did not run theirs, but yeah. So that's exciting, to have all those kids get ocean proof this summer. What else is here? National Beach Safety Week started yesterday. It goes through Memorial Monday. So basically it's a big campaign to kick off summer, alert people about the dangers of the aquatic environment. 96% of our rescues come from rip currents. So, education component, like us going out to schools. We've had 2 Girl Scout groups come down on Friday. So we have a lot of that interaction plus our PSAs that we put out with that. So That is, in fact, we're going to council tomorrow for our proclamation for National Beach Safety Week. There is on the city website, won't play that today, we're just kind of long-winded here, but it's on the social Instagram, the city's outlet, PSA for National Beach Safety Week. What else here? Memorial, we talked about the bike, and Memorial Weekend starts off our big summer. We have some decent surf for the weekend, 3 to 4 plus 5 foot, and Monday is supposed to be 4 to 6, so it should be full of activity. Since the last time I saw you guys, we've had 63 rescues made and over 1,700 prevents. So it's been a busy time. We've had temperatures up to 85 degrees and as low as 47 since the last time I saw you guys, and the water's creeped up to 67.
No.
So it's starting off at 64 now, but we've had it as low as 56 since the last time I saw you, and up to 67. So basically that's the update from marine safety.
All right. Question? Briefing on Ocean Fest.
Ocean Fest is going to happen. There haven't been, down the beach the last few years, but July 16th and 17th,
Right.
we'll be down there. Yeah.
With new T-shirts. New T-shirt artist this year.
Well, yeah, the Harlow.
He's out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's gone.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Like Peggy Vance reached out and asked if I knew a graphic designer.
Well, I think they got one because they showed in the San Clemente Times Harlow handing the keys
Shakes
over to
hands.
some other guy.
Do you remember the name?
My God, I
Because
don't.
I forwarded a recommendation
What-
who's
what
a
was-
past lifer.
What was the name?
Kyle Norheim.
I think that is a tall, thin
Yeah,
guy.
blonde hair.
That's who he is. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
so.
He did a lot of the artwork for marine safety for the association.
Oh, there you
Well,
go.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So he was a past lifer.
Real quickly, I'm looking for just a quick briefing on rip currents. Do they happen in the same place at the same time?
You do have
predicted?
fixed recurrence.
Yeah.
So if you were to go underneath the pier, it's structured. So underneath the pier, there's always a rip pond.
Oh.
Yeah. If you go to Trafalgar Bridge,
All right.
right off of that, because it gets cut out from the erosion, right? And so then you also have ones that are moving all the time too. So it's never just standard. This is what it is. I mean, we call it Dead Man's Rip, which is off of headquarters between there and Tower 4. But yeah, there are different ones. So when the waves crash and then the water comes rushing up, that water needs to go back out, right?
Right.
So that water goes back out, and you have, in the summertime, you have a south swell, so that current's moving from south to north.
Okay.
So you have the lateral current moving all this water, and it finds the where it's deeper.
Mhm.
So that's where the rips are deeper. It's cut out, or there's a break in the sandbar, and so that water is going out the opposite way. So this is a feeder. So it's coming in from both directions, and then you have the neck, which is the fastest part of the rip. And so it's usually brown, murky, and the water the waves don't break as well there. So you're gonna see this choppy water, and then it's gonna have a neck, and then it's gonna bloom out to a head. And it doesn't always just go perpendicular to the beach. It can go sideways like this, but easy way to get out of it. Most people panic. They're going backwards and they want to get back to shore, and it's like, oh, and they swim straight back in and they get tired, and that's when you have the issues. All you got to do is stay afloat. You can let it take you out. It's not going to take you to Catalina or Hawaii. It's just going to take you out a fair distance. You can float on your back. You can wait for help. But hopefully, before any of that happens, our guards will see the big protection signs to go out there. But the easiest way to get out of a rip is just swim parallel to the beach, not against the lateral current, swimming with the current, or at a 45, you can get out of there.
Fair enough.
You can watch the video on the city Instagram. It's up now.
Okay.
And it's the whole thing about recurrence.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, because, I'm looking for a simplistic thing of having a sign. If you know where they are all the time, have a sign. Rip current here.
Yeah, no, it changes from time to time.
Yeah.
But I mean, San Clemente, we're blessed. I mean, we have surf all the time. It's rare that it's just completely flat. So anytime you have any kind of swell, you're going to have recurrence.
Okay. One more thing. The federal getting involved in replenishment, sand replenishment.
Mm-hmm. Too bad Kyle's not here. emailed me not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, talking about logistically the plan, and my understanding, I think it's not this fall. It would be the fall of 2023 of when all that cubic sand would be coming in from Oceanside. They'd have a barge off there, have a pipe, and then they would distribute it on the beach. And then as they moved down the beach, they would extend that pipe at a 45, at elbow, and then extend and keep going, and they'd have tractors moving that. So it's supposed to go from T Street down to, and I forget how many cubic.
You know, when they extended the reef all the way up at
Wheeler's Reef.
Wheeler's Reef, did you notice any difference in the amount of sand being dredged back and forth that had any effect on it at all, do you think?
I wouldn't be able to tell you. I know that the
Nothing obvious, obviously.
yeah, I know that they had divers dive to see if it was growing the way it was, and,
Right.
and my understanding was that it wasn't, and they're expanding, and I don't know if they already did that or if they're doing it again.
But down at Cypress Shores, they're losing the tracks and the houses.
Pump station, you know,
Oh, yeah.
some houses have been red tagged.
Oh, yeah, you should see them. They're crazy.
Oh, houses in there, red tag down.
Oh, yeah, 2 of them.
You know, so much
north
erosion
of Fox
underneath. Yeah.
Yeah, and big cracks up the side of the house.
How many houses?
2 so
Yeah.
far.
Yeah, I mean,
So
there's
far.
a lot of them have been affected because they've lost everything in front of them, but yeah, 2 I guess are.
Right, and the railroad put in more rocks
Yeah, they dumped a bunch of rocks.
because they had, it's going out to the sand's holding all this stuff in, and the sand's disappearing. Guess what? And now there's this talk about having dual sets of tracks.
Yeah, it could happen.
Yeah,
Because they want more freight trains to be able to run. So
of course,
that's what we need, more freight trains.
A lot of woo-woo whistles too. Okay.
Did you want to talk about beach safety?
No, that's it. It's fine.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anything else? Good advice. Thank you. I think I've gone through everything that I have, and I'm going to be interested to see what the staff has about those other items. So I'm going to turn it over to Rick.
I think Adam's going to answer all my questions, but I'll tell you in a minute.
Oh, okay. Charlie?
Your time to talk
Pass
is
on
over.
me.
October.
I already said whatever I needed to say, I think. So
Okay.
let's hear it from the
All right, Mr. Adam, go for it.
All right, the flock contract is being routed for signatures. Once we get the signatures, then the contract can be is executed and the work begins.
Okay, and there was a rumor that there was going to be a permit process that was going to take some time.
I
Yeah.
have not heard that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
As I understand it, to plant that thing on the sidewalk, in the city is one thing, but if you're getting close to state highway,
Oh,
on and off
like a
ramps,
Caltrans thing or something?
on and off ramps, the state's really hinky about those
Oh.
cameras there. So
Well, that's not in our control.
anyway, there's city permits, building permit they have to go through. Is that going to be a stumbling block, or do you think that can we move that one through fairly rapidly?
We don't have an expedited building permit review process, but building permits, I'm not sure that that's exactly what's going to be required. For city-initiated projects, there's typically a separate process. If not, the code allows for the installation of things with a more streamlined process, since the city staff is the reviewer of these permits anyway. So,
Yeah.
but I'm not aware of any permits that are required. I will say that every permit that is reviewed in the appropriate queue. There's different levels of permits. There's different urgencies to certain types of things.
Right.
So those permits will be reviewed consistently with any other applicant.
do you have a target time that this could be implemented, or is that kind of up to all sorts of different things?
Well, once the contract is signed, then the city staff has contracted somebody to do work. So the time frame is as fast as they can do it.
Okay.
It just, it's how fast do they want to get paid?
Or if they get stumbled with permits, if they have to do permits. Yeah.
They've done this so, if I assume it's the company that puts them in everywhere, pretty much.
This is with Flock.
Okay, well,
Flock?
they've done this quite a few times. I imagine
I would hope so.
they kind of have
Anyway,
the program.
I'm anxious to get it going.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's only been a couple of years.
How many cameras did we
Was
finally
it
end up
20
with?
something?
Yeah, the original I think was,
It's gonna be 30, it's 2 phases
There
of
it is,
15.
And then we're absorbing some Talega cameras.
Well, we're gonna have access to Talega's cameras. There's still Talega's.
But they're gonna get the upgraded software that does the NCIC or whatever. Check the
It'll
video.
allow us to use their cameras just like they were city cameras, so we'll have full access.
So, but now it's stolen vehicle information. You know?
Yep. Mhm.
Okay.
Are these the license plate readers?
Yeah, the license plate.
Who else?
License only. No face recognition. No nothing.
Is there any other agencies, non-governmental agencies like Talega, that have these cameras in the city?
Not that I'm aware of. They may. I know the outlets have a security system. I don't believe it's Flock. I
Okay.
think theirs is actual video.
Thank you. I need that for the
And
notes.
not LPR, but Talega's the only, since I've been here, Talega's the only group or entity here that I
HOA
that
thing.
has Flock.
Yeah.
But I know that, Flock is interested in private use as well, so.
Well, we're to demonstrate how well it works.
Yep.
And then the chips will fall out there and people either like it or not like it.
Yeah,
Okay,
Millie
good.
Gale's got them now. over there.
Who?
Millie Gale,
Oh, okay.
yeah, they just put them in a while ago.
All right.
Okay, the bike repair ordinance and the catalytic converter, I should say the recommended bicycle repair ordinance and the request for initiation for the catalytic converter ordinance is going to council on June 7th. So not tomorrow, but the next council meeting. They'll be considering both of those items. Staff has worked with our city attorney's office on the bicycle repair ordinance, as I had mentioned in the meeting. If the committee wanted to move forward with it, staff's recommendation would be to make it a bit more useful in reducing the amount of bicycles that somebody has. The Long Beach ordinance still allows for like 2 full bikes, I think 2 bikes in some state of repair, and then like even a bicycle frame, and then like 4 bicycle parts. One person could have all of those things. So
What about the LA ordinance?
I don't remember that one offhand.
Huntington Beach? That's actually a good one too. I mean, they put this in.
The Huntington Beach one, that one was reviewed. We based it off of the Long Beach ordinance, but staff's recommending a tailored version of that.
Are sales involved in that? Aren't they listed?
Yes,
in
sales
Long
is
Beach?
also included.
Unless you have a
staff
permit.
is going to add rentals as well, because we've had some issues with bicycle rentals.
Unless you have a business permit or something, right? Isn't that in there?
As long as you meet all the codes.
Right.
Our zoning ordinance does not really permit a lot of commercial activities in the public right of way without specific permits. None of which really allow for bicycle sales or repairs.
And it goes back to code enforcement again.
Yeah, no, I know, which is already overtaxed, but
At least you have a vehicle, or will after the city council approves it.
A vehicle?
A vehicle to enforce
Yeah.
this stuff.
not a car.
Yeah.
You're getting a new car.
We had a couple of e-bikes, but they got stolen.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. We're working.
Catalytic converter?
He just said it's going to council.
Yeah, it's gonna be-
June
Yeah,
7th.
I got this copy from the city of Artesia. Is this basically what's going forward to the city council is a tailored version of their catalytic converter ordinance? This came from
At the next
mayor.
meeting, what's going is the same thing that went with the bicycle, the first bicycle repair ordinance was, which was what is the committee's recommendation.
Where did the Artesia thing come from?
Well, it came from the mayor and members of the city council by Captain Benfield. He distributed it.
Yeah.
Well, but this is,
I assume that it came to the city council from the way
You can't assume.
it said mayor and city council. I figured
she wrote this letter to our mayor. Is that what this is? Well, it's signed by the mayor of Artesia.
Right.
And is it to the mayor and city council of
Yeah.
Artesia.
it's
Oh, I
the
see.
address is here.
Yeah, oh,
so this
yeah.
is from
Okay.
her to
Gotcha.
our city council.
Gotcha.
So maybe somebody requested this from the mayor's, or I
That's
guess.
my guess. Yeah.
Okay,
And
I
it's a
did-
recent one. It says May 12th. Is that this year too?
May 6th.
May 6th.
Yeah.
6th of
This
this
year.
year. So, I mean, that's a.
So maybe somebody asked for clarification and she wrote this letter? I don't know.
I don't know, I'm not aware.
Well, I think he was trying to, the mayor, Melissa, was trying to do a community service to people in Orange County.
Oh, maybe she wrote
Sent it
to
out
everybody? Could
yeah,
be.
Yeah, that's, if you read it, it implies she just said, here's
Oh.
what we did, we think it might help you.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, good for her.
Yeah. So did we, the ordinance or whatever is going
Here.
in the city council?
Well, it's done now. Isn't the wording
This
done?
is,
Oh,
so
this is-
the city attorney's office has worked on these types of ordinances in their other client cities. They'll
So
They'll discuss with OCSD. I am simply processing this city-initiated process through the public hearing.
Okay.
Don't kill the messenger.
No, I mean, I want the messenger to know that he doesn't get blindsided on.
Oh, BB and K, yeah, I'm sure has done similar things.
I- you know,
I'm sure they know what they're doing.
Yeah, the catalytic converter thing, I don't know how many ways there are to regulate catalytic converters. I think it's a rather straightforward process.
Well, this one was like Captain Benfield, you just can't have them, unless you have paper that says you own it or somebody's giving you
Or it's
approval.
attached to your vehicle.
Yeah, it's
you know,
pretty
possibly.
straightforward stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's, what ours will be too.
So the council will get that on June 7th.
Oh, good, okay.
I've been working with our BPR and Public Works departments on some signs related to the city's critical facilities. This is a result of the storage of personal property in public ordinance that came out of this committee. Wanted to let you know that that ordinance in its final form allows for the city to immediately take, without prior notice, belongings that are within a identified area of city critical use areas. The city manager in that ordinance has the authority to identify critical facilities. I worked with the city manager's office to identify what those facilities would be. Most of them are based off of the general plan safety element, which includes figure S1 that it's a map of the city's identified critical facilities. So that was rather straightforward. But these signs will go up and they will provide information to people that their storage of personal property is not allowed within, either on the property or within a certain distance of a particular facility. And so they'll go on things like the lifeguard towers, places where we need to maintain access. And so those are in progress. So I just wanted to let people know that. Let's see, an update on the Park Ranger program. We have had a number of resignations over the last couple of months. We had hoped that these would be spread out. This was anticipated because the Park Rangers' pay has always been an issue. But after training, I want to say 6 staff through things such as PCA 32, various enforcement training opportunities, training geared at helping them issue misdemeanor citations, administrative citations, and parking tickets. In a way, I'm happy to report that all of that was so successful that they've been able to acquire better paying positions in other states.
So you're the trainee.
Nice job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So right now we have,
That's the way it works.
I have been in interviews for about a month and a half looking for some new rangers. Due to the fact that the majority of them are part-time positions, and the one full-time position we have is already staffed. We've had some people go through the interview process, go through the background and all that, and then we get them going, and they either don't really see the balance between what they're called to do and what they're
Paid to do. Yeah.
or they have some other conflict that is they can't work out to work the shifts that we need them to work. So
And then Starbucks starts hiring, and then you just lose them.
well, they're advertising in and out for $2 more than we start.
Exactly.
So we're trying quickly to bring these people up to speed on what I'll call the basics of the position. The basics of the position are opening and closing restrooms, locking parks, educating people in and around the beach, and dealing with the belongings of people who are storing their items in public. It is going to take, we have staff right now, we have one ranger that works full-time. They can issue everything up to a misdemeanor citation. For the time being, we still have 2 rangers that have been with us for years, and they've been incredible staff, and they're willing to stay on for a shift a week. So there's about 16 hours here and there where we have staff that can also do some enforcement. However, for the next couple months, our ability to enforce is going to be rather light. And we probably still need to do some recruitments for some additional staff.
So it's basically like a $20 an hour job. Is that?
It's 15 to 20.
Oh, the top is 20.
Yeah, the top is 20.
Oh man. And they're supposed to be taking people's property and doing all this stuff for $15 an hour.
Yeah.
And that's
Gee, I
part-time.
wonder why you're having a hard time finding that.
Yes,
God.
And that's part-time.
that's part-time.
Yeah.
Unbenefited.
No benefits.
Yes.
Right.
I had problems like that at the fire station I was involved with, because we would get the men that would come in or the women would come in, we'd train them, they'd be there for a year or two, and then off they go to the city, make, 4 or 5 times more than what we had. But what we would do, to kind of counter that, would be, we would tell the people that were interviewing, look, here's what you can do. We'll train you all this. You stick with us a couple of years, and you could go off, but you can't get the kind of training that we can give you anywhere else. And that was part of the sales pitch that we use. So you turn it around and make it a plus, and sometimes it works.
Well, it's worked out very well for us. We've had the Rangers we've had the Rangers meaning they've been under the Code Compliance Division since the middle of 2019. Yeah. Since that time, most of the Rangers have been there,
Mhm.
and they've been there because I have at every opportunity been promoting an improvement to the program. They like working for the city, and they wanted to stick around and see what would happen. And just over the years, not much has really changed for their day to day, and so.
Dude, though,
The problem is that they resigned at the same time. They did that because a lot of opportunities have opened up, and they're.
But $5 an hour for 80 hours a week, so additional $5, 80 hours a week is $1,600 a month total. You can't get budgeted for more, $1,600 a month, that's petty
Well-
cash out of the city.
Sometimes these guys are your best salesmen too. They tell you what a great job they had here. You know, they went from
$1,600 a
You'll
month
like San
times
Clemente. I mean, this is
That's less than 20 grand a year to pay somebody $5, 80 hours a week at $5 more an hour. Maybe it's only 40 hours a week I mean, less than 20 G's a year, and they can't budget for that, for people who are taking people's property and writing infraction tickets and all that.
it's an important job. Yeah.
Well, there have been a number of like I'll say again, opportunities to bring this issue up. It has typically been in the long-term financial plan process. Previously, I had sent some background information, specifically the public safety white papers of 2019 and 2020, where they say things such as.
I can imagine the weasel already here. No, big info.
Unavoidably, training staff separately over the course of months results in uncertain attrition or underpaying of staff. This is due to the tremendous increase in training being provided without the immediate reflection in their compensation. Attracting more qualified candidates, even if some training is necessary, avoids this issue because the gap between the employee and their anticipated qualifications will not be as great when openly recruiting for a new position as it is attempting to transform existing staff. In that same year, public safety white paper, which includes fire, OCSD, marine safety, code compliance, and the park ranger program, and CASA, there was one recommendation that was direct staff to include proposed park ranger program and code compliance staffing enhancements and modifications in the fiscal year 2020.
When you say staffing enhancement, wait, that's just in numbers of people and bodies. Staff. When you talk about staffing enhancements, does that include pay or is it just bodies?
It was both. We were
Okay, all right.
proposing.
All right.
We were proposing a number of
Okay.
changes, but there was only one recommendation that year, and it was to have staff make recommended changes in the budget, and nothing came out of that year. I know that there's been some restraints budgetarily. There's been some issues about allocating what resources to what enforcement, but this is where we are right now, and I just want to make it clear that we're going to be we're not going to be able to provide the same amount of service that we have. Due to
Aren't
these
there grants for this sort of thing? I mean, if you're in fire business, you can find all sorts of grants
Yeah,
for
but you gotta
training people.
continue it on.
And same with police. I don't know about.
The other problem budgetarily is that if you do $5 an hour more here, everybody else is in the same pay category, and say, "What about me?"
Do we have other people that are making $15 an hour working for the city? What are they doing?
We do. There is
Really?
a class. There is a class and comp study that's planned for later this year, or I should say, during the next fiscal year, which should start, relatively soon. But right now, we've had some great staff that have stuck with this program, actually longer than I thought that they would. But
Yeah, more than about 2 weeks.
Well,
You gotta be thrilled.
There's more to a job than just money.
Is there?
You can't eat a pat on the back and attaboy, but
Oh,
makes you feel
man.
better, I guess.
For $15 an hour, you can find somebody to blow up balloons at a picnic. I mean,
Let's get that on record.
I'm just saying.
Rick, you're an example of a person that's doing that right now.
I get paid nothing for blowing up balloons at a picnic.
Okay.
Okay, Adam.
What else?
Hang in there, boy.
Is there another item that?
no, that's all.
That's enough. Yeah.
Oh, God. That's embarrassing.
Anything from city staff altogether,
You sure?
except leave
Thank you for
Leave
everything
the
you've done
binder
for us,
behind.
yeah.
And you can take your notes if you need.
Yeah, I got them.
I am gonna do that.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah, but let's see. Do we meet on the third Tuesday or the fourth Tuesday? I
The
can't remember.
28th of June.
It's the last day of the month.
28th of June.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So,
Would you entertain a motion to adjourn? Mr. Chairman.
Yes, in fact.
Depends on how, well, let's see how entertaining it is. Go ahead.
That was it.
We move
Oh.
adjourn to the next regular meeting of the Public Safety Committee to be held on the Tuesday, June 28th, 2022 at 3 p.m.
Second.
in the community room of the City Hall in City Hall.
Second.
Second head. All in favor?
Aye.
We're all in. All right, we're out.
Man,
Thank you, guys.
thanks so much. You were the best part of this meeting.